Hello, welcome back to the channel. It is a cold, brisk, windy day here in the mountains of western North Carolina this morning, but we're gonna forge ahead anyway. Today we're gonna put the joists in on the cabin, and we're gonna do a little construction show and tell, which seems to have been getting a lot of good feedbacks. Folks like to see the kind of the nuts and bolts of how you do this kind of work, and I'm happy to share it. Gotta share a little honesty though. I'm struggling today. I have a bad knee. Being old and fat doesn't help it at all, but it happened when I was 16 years old. I was at a friend's house, and we were up on top of a car trailer, a big car trailer. They had taken the wood off, and they were replacing the wood on the base of this big trailer, and it was only the metal supports, and I slipped off of one of the metal supports, and if you can imagine this is your legs, my body was here, and unfortunately my body went this way, and my legs stayed stationary. I don't remember going back that far, but I ripped all of the tendons or all of the ligaments or something. I basically blew out my knee. I was 16 years old. So you heal kind of quickly, but unfortunately, I was stupid and still kept pushing on. I'm the oldest of a pair of parents who are also the oldest, so stubbornness kind of runs in our family. And my mom doesn't know this story, so she's going to hear it for the first time now. But during my recovery, I had a girlfriend, and I snuck out of the house, and I walked 5 miles to her house in the middle of the night to see her, and then walked 5 miles home, all on a blown out knee with no braces or anything like that. Pretty stupid. To this day, I still wrestle with that pain. And then in 2012, on the same leg, I broke my foot on attempting to through hike the Appalachian Trail. So between those two things, which both act up really, really bad in really cold weather, or if there's a rainstorm coming, I'm struggling, and that today's one of those days. So moral of that story is, if you have an injury, take care of yourself, don't push it. But here we are. So I'm gonna spare you the sight of an old limping man carrying a bunch of wood from his shop all the way back into the woods. But the next time you see this, we're gonna be back there and getting some things going. All right, all of our joists are out here. Joist hangers, nails, screws, screw gun, hammers, tools. We are ready to go. So we are ready to hang these joists. But before we do that, we need to talk about measurements. The standard measurement for all construction has to do with something called 16 on center. And what that means is, in our application, is that we're going to put our joists every 16 inches, and they're going to be on the 16-inch mark. Now, all lumber in the present day is called dimensional lumber, which means it's not actually what you call it. So this is called a 2x10, even though it is not 10 inches. It's also not 2 inches all the way across. So dimensional lumber is 1.5 inches. So when you get to 16 inches, you need to mark off 3/4 of an inch on each side to get 16 on center. It'd be a lot easier if it was just 1 inch and 1 inch, but that's not how it is. The other thing to think about is when you get all the way down, so we have 16, tape measures are usually marked for 16 on center. See, that's black. So 16, 32, and then 48. Dimensional lumber for plywood is 4 feet wide by 8 feet long. So if we are laying down a full sheet of plywood and we have our floor joist laying like this, half of it will come to here, the next board will come to here, and we'll be able to nail both sheets of plywood to the same joist. So there's a couple different ways to think about this and a couple different ways to mark it. You could just mark 16 and then go back and mark 3/4 of an inch this way and 3/4 of an inch this way. You could just mark those two things now so that you know where to put your board, or you could just mark one of them. And so most people, what they'll do is they'll mark the first board. I don't know if you can see that with my shadow. They'll mark that board and then just do this. And then you know that when you put your joist there, it goes where the X is. So follow me and we'll make our marks for all the rest of these boards. Oh, there we go. That's it. Now that we have these marked, the next thing that we need to pay attention to is something called load. The weight of all of our walking, sitting, standing, furniture, everything is going to be sitting on these and the plywood, but those are held up by screws or nails. So they need to be strong enough, something called shear strength, they need to be strong enough to hold that weight. So what you normally do is you use either nails or screws that are equal parts in here and here to hold up that weight. The other thing that you can use, and it's necessary, is something called a joist hanger. Joist hangers literally are exactly what they sound like. The joist hangs on them. They go just like this. You put nails in here. There are screws that go at an angle all the way across this to here, and you do that on both sides and that holds it in. There's a lot of different schools of thought on how to install them. For us, treated lumber is often wet, and since it's wet, it can be actually different heights and lengths and widths and everything. So instead of putting these on first onto, this is called a ledger, instead of putting them on first and then hanging them, in case the boards have varying lengths, we're gonna put these on afterwards. And then that shear strength of not only these nails, but these nails and these screws will help hold up that load. That's on video.
What?
FYI, folks, there is no bear. He's probably sleeping. Hopefully we have this built before the bear comes. Now, back to your regularly scheduled video. We are going to use a combination of screws, nails, and joist hangers to make this thing solid. But what we're going to do first is we're going to start all the way down and put one screw from the outside of this board, outside of the ledger here, into each joist. We're going to work ourselves all the way down so that they're all hung, and we're going to go back, add a couple nails, and then add our joist hangers. But this way we'll get them all in place with one screw at the top. Then we can make them square and level and straight and get everything going. So let's do this. So this is your typical joist hanger. A couple things I want to show you. These holes here are for nails that go into the ledger. This outside board is called a ledger. This is called a joist. And then these brackets are for screws that go into both boards. If you'll notice, they are offset from each other. so that when the screws crisscross, they don't run into each other. There are little brackets on the side here. We're not going to use these today, but what those are for is if my ledger board was up against a house, like I was putting in a deck as an example, I would nail these into that deck and that would hold this in, and then all of this would carry my load, all of these screws, all of these nails. We don't need to worry about that today. First thing we're going to do is get rid of this little splice. You just squeeze it together like that. And you slide it up. I'm going to do a nail on this side. Maybe. Make sure that that's tight. Do my next screw, or next nail, sorry. This is going splendidly. Try it one more time. Put them in the other side. And then put our screws in. It's very difficult. One more. And you're done.
Hi, buddy. Been working with us all day. You're unbothered.
Well, that's it for the day. We are all done. Joist hangers are all hung. I feel really good about today.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So the next step is we are going to insulate this floor. If you didn't watch our video about how much this is going to cost, jump back, watch that video. You'll kind of see what we're doing because I explain each different section. So we're going to insulate the floor and do solid plywood as the floor, and that's the very next thing we're going to do. So I get to go to the lumberyard again.
Maybe I can go to the plant section this time.
I may not take you.
Aw.
Just kidding. Anyway, we're all done. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Like the videos. That helps us as well. And that's it. So thanks for hanging out, and catch you on the flip side.
Bye.